But look here, John, supposing you're a housewife, and I ring the bell of your door, and you come to the door, and I start singing at you. You'd think a lunatic was outside. Supposing you went into a store and want to buy a frying pan. You go up and say to yourself, may I have a frying pan? You start singing at you. What do you think? But we've got some research on that. Generally speaking, in advertising, commercials with voice over sound under the words don't do so well. I'm wrong about that. I know I'm wrong. It's perhaps because I'm so old. Almost all our commercials have new experience. We've got a wonderful music director, and good luck to them.
This is David Ogilvy, one of the godfathers of modern advertising. In this interview from 1977, we can see that he was sceptical about the effectiveness of music in commercials, but concedes that he may be mistaken. This film explores the relationship between music and advertising. Let's begin by looking at how it worked in the early days.
I'm Chiquita Banana, and I've come to say I come from Little Island down Equator Way. I sail on big banana boat from Caribbean to see if I can help good neighbor policy. I bring song upon bananas.
The Chiquita Banana Company's jingle, sung by Peggy Serra, was one of the first successful uses of popular song to market a brand, selling 1 million copies and racking up thousands of hours of jukebox playtime across the United States in the 1940s and 50s. The jingle was so successful that the company used it across 5 decades of marketing campaigns. Next, let's investigate the link between music and emotion by seeing what current experts have to say.
We do know that music is a very important component of what makes TV advertising effective. Some of the research we've done so far suggests that having really good music on an ad can increase the effectiveness in as much as sort of 20 to 30%. Music can do things to people emotionally without having to actually involve any kind of rational messaging. Hollywood have known this for a very long time. Putting all that together, looking at the role of music in advertising is a very good way for us to interrogate how people respond to advertising emotionally and how that affects their behaviour.
Go compare, when in doubt, check them out, go compare. With just a few clicks, save yours from Dulix, and you'll thank your stars that you went to go compare. How much do you reckon they're paying him? Bill, you tenor.
One of the things that comes out of a lot of the research we've been doing over the last sort of 5 to 7 years is that emotion plays a very big part in what makes advertising effective.
Advertisers today agree that an effective commercial is one that gets a person's attention and also stays in their memory. They accomplish this by giving an intimate identity to a brand name. In this sense, companies have moved away from selling an effective product to instead selling a cool and identifiable brand. Michael Jackson was very influential to his fans and had a recognisable sound, which is why he was chosen for Pepsi commercials. Pepsi chose him with the intent that those who identified with Jackson would now be more likely to identify with Pepsi. Jackson even rewrote and re-recorded the song lyrics to fit the brand's identity. To many, this was seen as an act of selling out, but soon became commonplace for big stars. A year later, in 1985, Run DMC released their commercial with Adidas, which music licensing platform Synceo named the greatest music commercial of all time. In this case, the brand used the aesthetics of the artist as well as their music to market the product. Artists are naturally very picky about the brands they work with because of the effect it can have on their reputation. Before the days of YouTube, Japanese television was a place where Western stars were happy to relax these standards in return for big paychecks. Here we see James Brown in 1992 reworking his song lyrics just as Michael Jackson did before him in 1984. As part of our research, we went to Soho to interview some of the leading commercial music production professionals in the UK, Jungle Studios and Native Music Supervision.
It's mainly advertising work that we do here, some film trailers and 5.1 Dolby commercial mixes and stuff like that. But the average day would include voice recording or ADR, Foley, and then sound manipulation, sound design, sound editing, and then get into the gubbins of actual mixing, so your usuals, and then getting it to spec. And we mix for all territories across the world. We've got a big master world tech spec sheet that we go by that says every different country's different things. And luckily with the recent, not recent, it's been a couple of years now, but everything going over to EBU R128, everything's a little bit more consistent and not so loud.
I don't get it. Here, there, everywhere. No limitations.
Now let's take a close look at some recent advertising campaigns.
It was quite an interesting one actually, because it was a package of ads rather than one big ad. But the agency just got in touch and told us about the project and what they were planning on doing and what they needed from us. And the idea was to first find a track that they could use across every ad. I think that was the concept from the beginning, was to have one song across all ads in different styles. So we just did a search and put together different ideas of things they could use. And the Shakin' Stevens Merry Christmas Everyone track was the one that they thought could work really well across everything in different styles and things like that. So we found that quite early. And then it was a case of taking 5 different briefs for 5 different styles for each ad. And I say 5 different briefs, the 5 films in total at the very end, but in order to get to those 5 final tracks, we actually probably did about 15 different styles or something, which then changed. Oh, this one's not working, so can we? And for each of those styles, we do a few demos, so they've got a few things to choose from. So, we did like a dirty blues style, we did an a cappella style, we did 90s pop, like Wig Theory sort of style. And all of those kind of, got blown out as the brief developed and things like that. And we ended up with the 5 final ones.
From award-winning wine to pre-mixed cocktails, we've got something for everyone.
What did you learn?
Just now.
However you do Christmas, everyone's welcome at Tesco.
The original brief, the concept from the very beginning was that it should be Korean. Ended up probably being less Korean than they initially thought it would be.
Trust in what you know, not what you think.
They wanted to base it around Korean instruments and things like that. So the obvious thing to do, but they still need it to sound quite like Olympic and epic and things like that. So the obvious thing to do is just Korean drums. So we use a lot of Korean drums and things like that. So that was kind of the basis for the composition. And then they wanted it to be quite unexpected and quite weird and things like that, and a bit scary. Basically, like the concept of the visuals and the spot as a whole is that it's based around the athlete's fear, which is why the little voiceover at the beginning mentions fear. So they wanted to track, to kind of give that feeling of fear, basically, and convey that sort of sense of fear. So that gave us a bit of a steer musically what to do, but also like instrumentation, what to do and things like that. So we used quite a lot of dark synth sounds and gnarly bass sounds and things like that. And as the sort of, we probably did a handful, maybe 4 or 5 back and forths on the final track, tweaking it according to feedback and stuff like that. And so basically the first one we sent in, they said, we really like that, could you make it weirder? So we're like, yeah, we can make it weirder, put some extra stuff in, and they were like, love those new weird bits, can you make it weirder? We get even weirder. So we were like, yeah, we can make it weirder. So we put some more weird bits in, and they were like, how weird can we make it? So it's like, we can put more weird bits in. So in the end, we were just chucking in lots of, and that was really good fun. They're usually the bits that I put in that I get told to take out, because people are like, well, what's that weird synth sound in there? Can you lose that? So, but they were encouraging us to put more and more in, so that was good fun.
I think music and sound in general has become more present in people's minds. They understand the importance of it more than they did maybe 10, 15 years ago. Because it's often is even with the job when even the director's pitching on it for the job for the actual to do it, he'll make a reference. We've seen loads of directors' treatments as well that reference sound and music, and from the off it's distilled in like a client's mind that this is an important factor, this will change everything.
Well, it was very important, I think. Yeah. Probably more so now, maybe, than it has been. Or there's definitely an emphasis at the moment, I think, to have a sort of a big, hot track. Yeah. Or, reinvent an old track and try and get that in the charts and things like that. That was been quite a popular thing over the last sort of 5 or 10 years.
Having spoken with these audio professionals, we secured a Skype interview with an experienced media director of a multinational organisation to find out how they use music in their campaigns.
We believe we should touch the emotions of consumers. So in that sense, music for us is really relevant in the ads. And in fact, we have several examples of campaigns in which the music is kind of main character together with the actors or because we use from time to time we use celebrities in our campaigns, and you may see that the music is another main character or another celebrity within the campaign, because we strongly believe it's a plus in the communication, and in a certain way it emphasizes the emotions and the peaks during the whole movie. Most of the times the song is already chosen by our creative agency and us. From the very beginning of the process of talking to producers and the music companies, the song is already chosen. But in the middle of the process, we can have fine-tunings, like deciding if we want a special version from someone else. Imagine, for example, in this case of My Way, we wanted My Way, and on the way we decided we wanted the Gypsy King version.
As we have now discovered, carefully written and curated music is of course essential to a successful and holistic advertising campaign that makes a direct emotional connection with the viewer. However, we must remember,
at the end of the day, the buck stops with the client, and they're the one that's trying to sell the product. And you've got this director and a creative team who are trying to make a film that's like, you know, amazing, and that's something that they're proud of, and it's really creative, and it's really, you know, something that other advertising folk are going to see and go, that's an amazing ad, you know, that's a brilliant bit of craft. But at the end of the day, does it sell nappies? You know, probably not. You know, you just want something that's going to sell the nappies. So at the end of the day, client has the final say.
2, 3, 4. Get up, get on up, get up.